Good. Yeah, I just did the same thing as last week. I forgot to
Yeah,
hit
I
the
know.
go live button. Good morning and welcome to the CADclass podcast. I'm Josh.
I'm Jake. Hey guys.
I was too busy dancing. All right. Well, this time we did a
Every single
little
time
bit
that we
better.
have that timer going on, the 30-second timer,
So
our screens
silly.
go blank, and I just see Josh in the little corner doing that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm doing the same
Rocking
thing.
out. Um,
Neither of us can dance. It's
Good morning,
fantastic.
it's a good world to you. I think we need a new intro. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. That's kind of lame, right? I think we need to say a good world to you.
No, because it's totally Truman Show.
Good world to you all, whatever time zone you happen to be
Good
in.
world.
Dan, good morning, Dan. Good morning, Ogre. Good morning, Jostri. We've got an announcement to make right here at the top, although I haven't seen the announcee in here yet. So I'm going to announce it now. And then if she does pop into the pod, we'll announce
Yeah.
it again later. I want to send a huge, and Jake, I know you do as well, a huge congratulations to one of our star, if not the star member, one of our star
I would
members,
say definitely one of the star members.
Connie. Connie graduated. She made the lightsaber, posted an epic picture in the, oh, rather not the lightsaber, the space prop hilt.
Yeah.
And
For
posted her
legal
picture.
purposes, very different.
Very much not a lightsaber, very much a,
Yeah.
yes.
I actually
space
wanted it
hilt.
to call it legally distinct space hilt on the second edition. I wanted to do that so badly.
And Dan says, what's the topic for the day? Dan, I don't know what the topic is for today. So Jake, there's a reason for that too. So we just published our book, as you all know. And so call to action here in the beginning. We're going to shout it out in the end too. If you purchased one of our books, please take a picture and leave a review on Amazon. The reason I say to take a picture when you leave a review is it gets through their review process super quickly if you
No
have a
idea why.
picture of it. I think it's just easier to prove that you have the book in your hand. I don't know what it is. There's something about it like that, right?
Who knows?
But
But we massively appreciate it.
please do take a picture and leave us a review, and hopefully it's a good one because it would just be so sad to have a 1 or 2 star review right out of the gate.
But we massively appreciate it. Yeah,
time.
it helps us out massively. The support is fantastic, and we really appreciate it. We love it. But the reviews help hugely. So yeah, please do that, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Jostri. Jostri says, "Oh, I need to do that." Yes, you do, Jostri.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic. And so today we're going to keep it a little bit short as well. So the book is published, but we are now working on the video course side of things and trying to get it all matching up so that, we can take your now over 2 years of video filming and editing skills and improve
it is
the whole.
night and day comparing the original course with the stuff I'm filming right now. It's so silly how different it is.
Do you remember the first day?
Yeah, of course I do. It was
Man,
awesome.
I remember that. It felt like it feels like an eternity ago, but it also feels like yesterday.
I
Like
know.
we were so giddy coming into this first day of filming. We had 3 iPhones. And
Well,
I was
here's something
holding
that
one
I
of
want to
them.
preface it.
Yeah.
This is podcast number 52. We've done this for a year now. And I think we should talk a little bit about the beginning of CADclass and a little bit about Sliceform, potentially, our first company.
Yes.
So I'm sure I've told it a couple times, but to everyone that doesn't know, Josh and I met at a very popular makerspace in Southern California. Ton of fun there. We still have a bunch of friends there. But I was hired first by like a couple days. And then Josh came on. So I was like, oh, I'm still in college, still have a little bit of experience making stuff here and there, but I'm basically a newbie. And Josh is like, I want to learn everything. And we both started teaching, which was super duper fun. So doing class with kids, classes with adults, class with everyone, and it was a ton of fun. We very, very, very quickly learned an absurd amount of skill sets with woodworking, welding, metalworking, laser cutting, 3D printing, t-shirt printing, silicon molding, vacuums, some Arduino. God, so many things in there, ridiculous. And it was a blast. And then while we were doing that, we had one of our friends that was essentially selling 3D printed products that had a customization to it and a color for every single one. And so that obviously is screaming 3D printing. And so to essentially, well, what they were doing was they had from their manufacturer an SLA print, which is a resin print, and they would paint them individually with different paint, and they would have to do multiple coats because they were getting this kind of dark gray resin, which is the most popular color. And it was like, you are spending this absurd amount of time doing this. Like, I can 3D instead of spending what $5 worth of time and effort on every single one. Like, I can just find a color for you and 3D print it, and it'll cost you 10 cents. It's like, oh, fantastic. And so we just started making loads and loads and loads of these. We developed a couple products that helped out but didn't go much. And then after kind of getting into the 3D printing farm space, it just becomes very, very evident that if you don't have all this clientele built up, it's a rough path.
Can I add something there?
Yeah.
So for those of you in our community who are considering starting a 3D print farm style of business, we were originally drawn to this space probably for the similar reasons to you, and that is this reproducibility. This printer can make things while I sleep. This
Mhm.
kind of inexpensive to build out the print farm. You can build a manufacturing facility for relatively cheap. Like all of these ideas are
Mhm.
pretty seductive. To your point,
Which is all still true.
finding products that don't need to be post processed, that can be sold reproducibly at scale and can build some regularity into that business proved to be the hardest part of what we were trying to do.
Yeah.
Because once you have the product and you know that you can print it and you know that it's reproducible and you don't have a lot of post processing or any post processing time, meaning you have to take it off the printer and clean it up for some reason, then
Sanding, removing supports, all that stuff.
yep. So then you've got something worth doing. However, if we can do it, other people can do it too. And so this competition heats up, the search for reproducible products heats up. And what I figured and what I found is while you were busy making these and editing the files and building everything out on the back end, I was trying to go out and make sales and see how we could market and advertise this kind of thing. And Jake, this is the problem. Who were we marketing to?
Everyone.
I couldn't figure it out. And if you don't know who you're marketing to, then you can't write any marketing material. You can't find out where they hang out online. You can't find out where they hang out in person.
You can't
It's
advertise to
basically a
them, it's
blank slate.
impossible.
Who are you? If you don't know who you're talking to nobody. In a
Mhm.
similar way, we always say if we're trying to sell something to everybody, we're selling to nobody because there is no clear strategy for reaching generic people anywhere. So
Mhm.
I couldn't figure out reproducible sales strategies. I'm
Yeah,
like, I
no,
don't know where
it's,
to find the next person. You know, we were tried.
basically the only way to do it is to find somebody who is already selling a product where you can kind of piggyback on their marketing and their system and then say, "Hey, I can make your product cheaper, quicker, with more customization, with more color, exactly now with no shipping time from China because I'm down the road. I don't need to have full business, a full facility. I can just buy, 10 3D printers for 2 grand and chuck it in my closet and get it printing, you know? I
Yeah,
need to buy a rack from Costco. Okay, tack on another couple hundred.
right.
It has so many benefits, and the hardest thing in the planet is finding a client.
Well,
It's
and again, like let's go even deeper down that rabbit hole, right? If we're printing in PLA, then there are limitations to it. It's not going to last forever. It's not as strong as an
mm,
injection molded part. We can't go into these situations and go, this thing's going to last forever. So that's why some of the early products that we worked with didn't really need to last forever, and it
mm,
wasn't such a big deal if they could withstand the elements or, like these are like low touch items that would probably stay inside that
mhm.
people wouldn't handle too much. But the
Yeah.
second you venture outside of that,
As
you're
soon as you say,
beyond the
"Oh, I need a
scope.
part that has strength," it's like, okay,
Yeah.
now I need to kind of re-engineer the file, and for a lot of people, that means they need to learn CAD from scratch, which is a big thing for a lot of people. So yeah, that
So
becomes
then we
rough.
became, by the way, then we did some CAD tutoring. We did some 3D printing
Mhm.
tutoring. We found some of our best clients via those channels. We ended up working
Which,
with a
by the way, you
dentist
guys
and
can do as well.
yeah.
If you
And
if
yeah, yeah.
if you go through the entire course and you make a bunch of your own products or projects, and you feel comfortable enough to be able to teach a certain level of expertise, then we recommend it. It's pretty damn good money. if you can find good clients again. Yeah, that's what it always comes down to.
One of our students is doing that in Davis right now. So
Yeah.
he's wanting to start a tutoring service for CAD and 3D printing, and it's a great idea. There's a lot of people that will pay for that service.
Mhm.
So yeah, we ended
Mainly
up finding
because
clients that way.
maybe because those people that are clients are making their own product themselves, and they're essentially saying, "Oh, I need to." Those people going, "Oh, I need to prototype a product that I want to make," and I heard the word 3D printing, so I bought one. And I have no idea how to use it, and those are the people that will pay top dollar for your tutoring skills. So
Yep.
there's the trick. That's how you do it.
So I think we went from 3D printing as a service, which many of you know, to starting to focus on something that I've always wanted to focus on, and now we have officially done, and that's a productized service. So we started playing around with the idea and basically being frustrated by the fact that there weren't CAD tutorials that we felt had everything and encompassed everything that we had wanted when we were
Mhm.
trying to learn difficult to learn CAD software.
And it's something
And
that we both have a little bit of experience. I studied it in college, and then I lived in the UK for a little while, and I had a job being a CAD engineer at a textile manufacturing plant, which no longer exists, which makes me very happy because it was a very miserable job, and they didn't make it through COVID, and a little bit of me went, "Yay, screw you guys." Um, God, that place was so bizarre, so strange, so strange. Um, but essentially coming back, it was just kind of looking around a workshop and going, that CNC needs CAD experience. They're getting a plasma machine, and people need CAD experience. There's fully booked laser cutters over there, and you need to know CAD to make all of your products. There's an expensive 3D printer over there. You need to know CAD to do that. And it was like, and the classes they did were not very full, and they weren't very spectacular. And Josh and I looked at each other and we said, "Well, let's do it. You know, we know how to teach. We know how to speak to the makers. We are makers, and just kind of launch from there, basically."
how hard could it be, right?
How
Am I
hard can
right?
it be? I remember literally saying to Josh, "I think I while we were making the 3D printing course, I think I'll probably make like a CAD course. I think that could be cool. I'll whip it up in like 2 months. That'll be easy."
Jake, I want to stop you for just a second.
Oh, okay.
Connie is here. Connie,
Hey,
congratulations. It is
congrats.
very, very wonderful to have you in the community and to see your progress throughout the course and to see that you've completed it and shared what you've done along the way. You've inspired us. I see Grandpa Makes made a comment in there as well. You've inspired
Mhm.
him, and he's also inspiring. And so I think that's an inspiration chain right
Yeah.
there. We're having a little bit of an impact through your amazingness. So huge shout out to you, Connie.
Mhm.
Good
All
morning,
the people that
Gary.
you've
Good
helped has
morning,
been
Johnny
fantastic.
Erdefan. Good morning, PC Van Vliet. Some of the usual regulars. Ogre. Nice
And
to have
okay.
you all
How's
here.
it going, guys?
Yeah. We're just rambling. At this point, we're just rambling. Add some questions in the chat. Jake and I have been completely overwhelmed with both book production and now video course production,
And then
and
film.
also now the start of the school year. So I start my classes next week, and I also we're now working with a
Teaching, not
handful of
taking.
schools who are using our curriculum, and so I'm like up to my eyeballs and trying to keep everything straight and not drop balls, which I'm sure I'm dropping.
Yeah.
So
Um,
apologies for the unstructured pod today. We're just here
a
to
little
hang
bit of
out.
funkiness.
We will have a little bit.
Speaking of the video course, week 1 or chapter 1 should be done by the end of this week. So I'm probably going to be publishing it on YouTube for free, and also on our course by
I
Friday.
I think that's so. Let's touch base on that offline for just a sec. It might be a little bit too much, so I want to
All
touch
right,
base with how much we give away for
we'll
free.
see.
But certainly you will have the Saturn V rocket, the introduction
Oh yeah,
tutorial, and the donut.
yeah.
But outside of
Um,
that, TBD.
we'll see. Um, First off, I just want to show off a couple tips and tricks because I like to do it, and it's stuff that I learned along the way. Um, and this is a CAD class. So let's go ahead and show off some Fusion really quick. Some of these things I'm sure people know, and they just and for some people to go, oh, that is actually kind of handy. Um, so the first thing that I have been working on is developing all these really large models and doing screen recordings, and while running a few other programs in the background, editing programs, recording programs, all this kind of stuff. And it obviously uses up a lot of RAM. And one of the big things was, because Fusion is it's a cloud-based program, it does use up a lot of RAM, a lot of memory, a lot of computational power. So if you are working on just one file that you know is really big and your computer's lagging just a little bit, here's what you can do. Click on the little clock icon and go into offline mode. Just click this button, and it essentially stops the cloud connection between the program and your online account, and it just makes everything run so much faster. It's really silly how much the little lags and the little beach balls go away. And if you're going in between your main project and other projects that you're working on, then it may slow down a little bit. But if you know you're just working on one big project with a lot of internal components that don't need to be referenced back and forth, it's great. It works really, really, really well. Obviously, you don't need to do it all the time, but for some projects that are just, are gigantic and they're really pushing the limits of what you can get out of Fusion, then this is a really good tip and trick. The other thing that I only learned this week, and it's super duper simple, but it is shockingly handy, is using the highlight tool, which seems simple enough, and I'm sure a lot of people are like, it's just highlights. I don't know what the difference is. Here's something that's kind of
Were
fun.
you and I talking about this, or was that Ed and I?
I have no idea.
This is amazing. So Ed and I are working on the book, the next book as well.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if you're about to say the thing that we were talking about, but we're like, whoa. What's the difference if you drag to the right versus drag to the left?
Yeah.
Why does one of these boxes have a dotted line and the other one is solid? And so it's amazing that you're doing this right now, because I also know this answer.
So if you click from the top left down to the bottom right,
it's just
orange.
left to right. It's just left to right, period. If you can do it from the bottom as well. Try it. From up. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Anyway,
so it's just if you click left to right versus yes.
Yeah, but everyone highlights diagonal. Nobody's going linear.
Some people would start from the bottom, though.
If you go to the bottom right, it will highlight, or it won't highlight things that are partially covered.
Yeah.
If you go from the bottom up and to the left, anything that is inside this box will get highlighted. So if you've got a really gigantically complicated model that's got a bunch of small things in there, and you need to highlight just this one little object, even something that's really close to the edge, if you highlight from the bottom up and cover it, because there's a little bit of that entire circle in there, that also gets highlighted. But if you go from the top corner down, even though that highlight did include a little bit of the circle, it will be ignored. This works for these sketches, but it also works for really large projects that include lots of components. So if you've got a bunch of really complicated stuff going on, and there's some bolts in there, and you just want to highlight just the bolt, then go from the top down. If you want to highlight everything in the way, then go from the bottom up. There you go. I know that is like super duper minor.
I don't think so. I think it's major.
I mean, it's pretty minor.
I think it's major in the sense that it brings me to something that like we talk about a lot when we're writing books and courses, but the fundamentals are so important. It's easy to ignore little UI hints like a solid line versus a dotted line. It's easy to ignore the difference between those two operations, but the time savings at scale can be massive.
Yeah.
Right. So starting to notice the little nuanced decisions that Fusion makes and things like this, I actually think is a huge deal. So yes, at the end of the day, the selection tool probably isn't going to change your life, but the collection of these tools and your knowledge of deep fundamental knowledge and understanding about how to use them actually will have a massive impact. So that's my hot take.
Just really quick hi to everyone who's just coming in. Really quick, we'll repeat it a couple times. For anyone who has recently bought a book on Amazon, thank you very much. We incredibly appreciate it. We would appreciate it even more if you could leave a review on Amazon,
Please.
it helps us out ridiculously amount. If you post a picture with it, even better. This is just a call to action. Thank you ever so much. If you could leave a review, it would mean the world to us.
As of the recording of this podcast, we do not have any visible reviews yet. So
they're probably coming in.
Please.
They're probably coming through.
Please.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Anyway, I kind of wanted to switch gears and talk about the 3D printing world really quick. This is going to be a relatively short podcast just because I literally need to go back and do some more filming. But somebody posted an article on about 3D printing and in the world of desktop and hobbyist to the industrial side. And they were just posting just pure business percentages that would go up or down. And it really, really sincerely blew my mind. So we're currently in the midst of very large 3D printing corporations suing companies like Bamboo for fairly silly reasons, but we'll see how that plays out. Again, we aren't legally knowledgeable people, certainly not me. So yeah, take all this with a grain of salt. But this just came from a little article. So again, take that with a grain of salt as well. Who knows how true that is. But from industrial 3D printers, their profits have gone down 9%, which, okay, fine. That's
9% is not small, though.
It's not small, but it's
in
not,
the industrial space.
But it's not mind-blowing.
Do you know how large the industry is? Do you know how many?
No idea. Yeah. So industrial would be the gigantic ones that are using very, very niche printing material or really funky processes or metal 3D printing, all kinds of stuff. And professional 3D printers, which would be the next level up from the hobbyists. So it includes all sorts of things. Those have gone down 33%. That is why all these big companies are kind of like waging war against these small 3D printers. Because since 2023, Bamboo, their profits have gone up 3,000%, or their growth has gone up 3,000%, which is like mind blowing. Like that's ridiculous. And for all $2,500 sub 3D printers, 95% of them are coming out of Chinese companies like Bamboo, Anycubic, Elegoo, Creality. I'm sure Prusa makes up the last 5%. They're in the Czech Republic, but that's gigantic. And we've heard from people who are doing from these big companies who are literally selling their large, expensive machines, getting refunds, and just moving over to large volume, incredibly high quality hobbyist machines. Like they're not. I actually do quite like that Bamboo isn't advertising, oh, these are professional 3D printers. They're not. They're still saying these are hobbyists and for makers. They are just primo quality, which I actually really, really like. I'm just really excited to see where this is going, because I think this is only going to be beneficial for the makers. But what do you think?
I was just poking around a little bit to see, because Prusa making up only 5% market share actually seems a little small to me. So I was just seeing if I could find it. It's really hard to find information about how many, like, reliable information.
It's hard to
about
find
how
information
much
on any of those things.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited to see where this goes. The next that we are going to be looking at in the next 5 years, an entire new generation of 3D printing. I think it's going to be a completely new disruptive market.
So here a little while ago, 7 months ago, something was posted on Reddit of Joe talking on YouTube saying that they ship over 10,000 printers a month.
Okay.
So if they ship 10,000 printers a month and they have 5% of that market,
that's a lot of printers going out the door.
That seems sort of unlikely.
I don't know. But
20 times more than that. So we're thinking if they're shipping 10,000, we're thinking 2 million. I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
I see that. I see that. But I'm really excited to see where that goes. Like all these gigantic 3D printing companies that have just been like completely anti hobbyists and anti makers since their birth in like the 1970s. Like finally kind of being put in their place as soon as they encroach into the desktop market. It feels a little nice. It feels a little David and Goliath.
Totally does.
It's like
Derry says, anyone have any advice on 3D scanners?
I was actually gonna talk about 3D scanners today. It's so funky you brought it up. They suck. Nobody needs them.
That's not true. So there are some
I
applications for them. I've seen them
okay.
in prosthetics, and I see
Okay.
them in dentistry, and I see them in a handful of
For all
other
of our
industries. I
dentists.
I think I reserve my judgment. I actually haven't used any of the newer, nicer scanners coming out, and I no longer I know that the scanner that we used that was professional and super expensive
Mhm.
was not easy to use,
No.
annoying to modify and edit. There's a lot of things we but Derry's at an interesting point here, right? Usually I think 3D scanning is a proxy for I don't want to do the work, but I want to have it done for me. So a lot of
Mm,
people get into 3D scanning and they're like, well, if I could just scan everything and not ever have to make a model, that's what I want to do. And while that, I actually think that idea is interesting. And if we were there and it were that simple, I'd say go for it. But a lot of times what happens is people go, well, let me just use a 3D scanner and I'll never have to learn CAD. So for
mm,
those folks, I would say don't do it. It's a
yeah.
mistake. It's a trap. You will fail. However, Derry is not one of those people.
Yeah.
Derry knows CAD and understands the industry well. So for you, Derry, you say, does anyone have advice on 3D scanners? That's pretty generic. Can you give us a sense of what it is that you're trying to achieve with a 3D scanner? And also what it is that your price point, like how much are you trying to spend and how accurate does it need to be? Give us dial in a little bit or dial in a little bit.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
and tell us what it is that you're trying to achieve with that scanner, and we'll do a little bit of
I
research. So, with that said, Jake,
I
I just wanted to be aware that this market is changing faster than I understand it, and I imagine maybe you too, but take it away from me.
yes, completely. I will say for 3D scanners, the in my mind, the only way that it's ever really made sense is if you have an experience with 3D modeling and you are trying to interface it with something that has either organic or man-made geometry that is absurdly difficult to model or maybe impossible to reverse engineer. So, for example, I have seen some people that have made fittings or attachments onto computer mice that have really, if I can cover my face, really funky curves on it. Like that's a nightmare to model up. That took someone probably a team of people, a long time with multiple different 3D modeling softwares to make that. For you to recreate that and to measure it, that's ridiculous. That's where having a 3D scanner to go around and make a model and then delete what you don't need and then put something on top of it and then essentially subtract the mouse or the whatever it is the best case scenario. Of what I know, a, an actual 3D scanner that you buy that's purpose built for that application, the resolution that you're paying for isn't necessary. I haven't tried it, so yeah. Again, grain of salt. The apps that I've seen for smartphones that use lidar or double camera parallax effects, if you have a phone like that, can do almost as good of a job. It is, for all intents and purposes, it is practically perfectly fine for most things. I think some of those apps are like $10, but it sure as hell beats $1,000 3D print or 3D scanner. So that's
Yes.
as
Yeah.
Josh was saying, there are definitely benefits in prosthetics and dentistry, medical field, absolutely. For Joe Schmo who has a 3D printer and some CAD skills. Not that Derry is Joe Schmo. I'm just saying the average person, the hobbyist, probably not necessary. But prove me wrong, basically.
Well, yeah, I'd love to know what you're trying to do with it and continue to hear feedback from the community. This Einstar, so Derry Era mentioned the Einstar scanner. There's Einstar Prosumer portable 3D scanner. It's about $900. Gets really good reviews. Hard to say. RevoPoint is another one of the big scanning companies that I've heard of.
Mhm.
Yeah, hard to say for sure. I'd be interested in trying them out, but for the most part, yeah, I don't touch them too much.
Yeah. One thing
Um,
that Connie said
yes,
that we
I
want to
was
touch
gonna
on
comment exactly on that.
said I received an email from Autodesk informing us about new storage standards. I'm not sure how this affects my use. This is something that we all got an email from,
Mhm.
and I haven't looked into it too much, but I've read a little bit. As far as I know, well, okay, essentially the way this works is that every single file that you make isn't saved to your local computer. They're saved to Autodesk's servers. That's why it's a cloud account. That's why you can go across the world, sign in on your account, and all of your files are there. Because it's not stored on that computer, it's stored externally. On some non-cloud based CAD programs, it is saved local to your drive, so you only have access to it. That's why a lot of businesses use those type of programs, because they can hold on to their IP. It's not given to another company, even if it's encrypted. The So every single thing that you have ever made, and everybody has ever made, is stored on Fusion's servers. As far as I know, you can think of it a little bit like Google's servers for YouTube, where some of these videos haven't been viewed in a decade, and the accounts that uploaded them haven't been active for like 10 years. It's like it is practically there's no reason to hold on to that. And it's something like 65% of all YouTube videos uploaded get 0 views, which is insane. And I think we all know the statistics of like how many hours and hours of videos are uploaded to YouTube every second. I think it's something like 2 days of footage are uploaded every second. It's obscene. It's obscene. So what I believe is that they are trying to see any files that haven't been used for a significant amount of time by users that haven't been using that program for a vast amount of time. I think they're going to be deleting those. I think. I don't know for certain, so don't quote me on it. But I will definitely look into it in a little bit more depth by next week.
So 2 quick things there. One, Connie, is save all of your files in the F3D format, and
All the important ones.
potentially in the what's the other format, Jake? I'm blanking here.
The
Step file. Yeah. So just go ahead and, as a precaution, and I would say that in generally, that's true. If you're storing something on the cloud, assume it could go away in the same way that if you're storing something on a local machine, it could go away. I would go ahead and export those files, put them in a folder, and just have them, just in case. Just in case something happens. I see no reason.
Fusion files are tiny, by the way.
Yeah, they're not big files. I see no reason not to save every single file. It might take a little extra time, but then you're not going to have to worry about ever having, like, if they do decide to wipe the database or make a mistake, or who knows what can happen with these companies, you'll never have to worry too much about it. That's one thing. And the second thing, Jake, is while you were talking about how much data is stored on YouTube, do you know how much data is stored on YouTube?
It's got to be hundreds.
YouTube
of
operates at an
petabytes.
unprecedented scale, storing exabytes of video content to cater to
God.
its vast user base. To put this in perspective, a petabyte is equal to 1 million gigabytes, while an exabyte is 1 billion gigabytes.
God. How many exabytes do they have?
Gigabytes.
God, that is an obscene amount of data.
It's
like
4.3 petabytes every single day, which is 4.3 million gigabytes of data every day.
So if you have a like a 2 terabyte SSD drive, 1,000 of those is 1 petabyte. But you actually need even more, and that's just for RAID 0. That's with 0 backup. If you're having RAID 1 or RAID 2, all the way up to RAID 6 sometimes for some companies, multiply that even more. You would need an entire a hallway of SD cards, and they're uploading how many petabytes per day?
4.3 petabytes every single day.
4.3. That's, oh my God, that's
and
insane.
it's growing, right? So this is
Yeah.
When there was a lot of talk of AI, and when AI, I mean, obviously people are still talking about it, but One of the things they were talking about is where's all the data that people are going to use, and the biggest growing data set is YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about what you can mine from YouTube: facial expressions, tone, intonation, video, comments.
Yeah.
My God, it's just a vast database of.
A
So this
lot,
is why
but
people
apparently
still think,
in YouTube, it is a violation of their terms agreement to scrub YouTube for AI large language models as well. So I
blah
think a
blah
couple of
blah blah
people,
blah. If
a
there's
lot
enough
of
money, they'll
people.
do it.
Oh yeah, of course they will.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to, but they're absolutely gonna.
Yeah, I don't know what they do and don't do, but yeah, I mean the amount of data available on YouTube is just outrageous. It's just completely obscene.
So Fusion is nowhere near as big as that, but as far as I understand, if you are an active user, meaning you've opened the program in less than like 5 or 10 years, probably, you're totally fine. You're probably completely
Yeah.
fine. I can't imagine the idea that, oh, you haven't touched it in a couple of weeks, well, we're going to delete all of your account. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That being said, it
Save your
is
files
stored externally,
locally.
which you don't have any control over. In the same way that some small companies, they will have local drives and they will save everything up to the cloud as a backup. Save all your files to your local drive, especially all the important ones.
Not big. There's no reason not to do it. Just go ahead and build that into your workflow. Save that file when you're done with it, and then you'll always have access to it. I see no reason not to. And by the way, the other thing that we didn't talk about is these software companies, especially cloud-based software companies, can change their terms of service at any time, preventing access from your files. So if some of these, if for whatever reason they decide, oh, you now have to pay to access your files, you are screwed.
Yeah.
Because those will all be put behind a paywall and there's nothing you can do about it. Now, I'm not saying they will do that. That would lead to quite a bit of bad blood for these people quickly. And I think they understand that. But you never know. And anytime it's a cloud-based service, and by the way, this is one of the things that scares me a little bit about even our Gmail. Can you imagine if Google decided our Gmail was, like, say, not legitimate, or that there's an issue, or that we violated some term and just shut it down? I mean,
it's insane.
that would be awful for our business. All of our files are in Google Drive. So it's making me think that we should go in there and back up our Google Drive in the same way.
Oh, we do. I do.
So, our entire Google Drive, you back up?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
All right. We said it was going to be a quick one. It is
I need to get back to
super good
filming.
to see you all. This has been the CADclass podcast, and we'll be back again next week. Once again, I'm Josh.
I'm Jake.
And see you then.
See you guys.